Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the podcast. Today I'm going to be talking to the coaches out there about herniated discs. And this morning, this came about because this morning I was writing an email to my email list, sharing some facts about herniated discs. And I'm like, you know what, this would be a good podcast episode for the coaches out there who are not educated on herniated discs, because this is something that I did not know a lot about until I went through my specialized certification. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea about all of this. So if you have a client who has had a herniated disc, or if you haven't had one yet, this is good for you to know in the future because it's probably going to happen. So this is what typically happens. Somebody hurts their back. They get freaked out. They go to the doctor. The doctor does imaging. They get an MRI and they're like, oh my gosh, you have a herniated disc, L5S1, just for example. And the person is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is horrible. And the doctor may mention something like, you need to be really careful. You shouldn't be lifting anything over 20 pounds. Don't do anything that hurts. And you might potentially need to have surgery in the future if this doesn't go away, or get a cortisone shot. This sends the person into a tailspin, okay? Because that sounds scary, right? That sounds scary. And I have heard this from people who are in their 30s all the way up to people who are in their 50s. And it's pretty much more of the same story. But these are not necessarily facts. Just because something shows up on imaging does not mean it is directly correlated to your pain, or that you're going to be stuck in pain forever just because you have a herniated disc. This is a snippet out of a PubMed article that I'm going to read to you, okay? This meta-analysis of the literature reveals that imaging findings of spine degeneration are present in high proportions of asymptomatic individuals, increasing with age. Many imaging-based degenerative features are likely part of normal aging and unassociated with pain. All right, those are facts. Basically, what that is saying is that just because there are lots of people walking around with herniated discs that do not have pain. And so that tells us right there that just because something shows up on imaging does not mean you will be in pain forever. And especially if you are in your late 30s plus, if you get imaging, like, something's going to show up because we are aging. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we are doomed to a life of pain or should be avoiding lifting or getting stronger. And this is a message that more people need to hear or know about. And what I have noticed after working with many people who have herniated discs and getting them out of pain, getting them strong, and getting them strong enough to be able to do whatever activity they want to do in their life, I'm here to say that it is possible to rehab your back without any major surgical interventions. And I'm not saying that surgery is never necessary, but even if you take a more conservative approach first and you still end up having to have surgery later on in the future, you're going to be that much better off coming out of surgery because you're going to be strong. The weaker you go into surgery, the more terrible your rehab is going to be because you're weak AF. So I just want to get that out there first. But when we're talking about the more conservative based approach, here's what I do with those clients who are either in back pain and they haven't had imaging, or if they have back pain and they have imaging and they're like, hey, here's what the imaging says. The approach is the same. We go through an assessment and testing process so that I can get an idea of where's their range of motion at joint by joint. What is very uncomfortable? What can they tolerate? What does it feel like? And really getting granular on like, what options do we have range of motion wise in the joints? Because that's going to tell me, okay, here's what we have available and like, here's what we need to work on. And we also do some strength testing as they're able to tolerate to see where is their strength at. Specifically, one past client I am thinking of, she had L5-S1 herniated disc, okay? She could only bend over as far as like her fingertips to her knees. She could not do a single step up on a kitchen chair on one of her legs because she was that weak. And this is important because it's not just always about where you have pain. We have to also look above and below and see what is the strength like. Because a lot of times, if we are super weak in an area, that's going to cause compensations in other areas to be overworking because we are weak. So if we work on bringing up the strength around the area, a lot of times the pain improves. So with what I found with this client, she was extremely weak in all single leg movements. She had barely any range of motion to be able to bend over, and she could not do a like hinge pattern. Like doing a deadlift was a no-go. We did like half range of motion RDLs, basically. Good mornings, body weight to start with, to get her body used to moving in that way and telling her body, hey, this is safe to do. Because when we experience pain, that is our body saying, protecting us and saying like, hey, this is not safe for us to be doing. And so it's going to tense up, cause pain to make you stop. But even if it's a movement like bending over, like we should be able to bend over while our body feeling safe. So the key is to be able to peel back the layers of someone's movement so far, and that's where you start. And this is where a lot of trainers don't have knowledge around because they don't know how far back to regress a movement or how to talk a client through dealing with pain and irritation. And this is what I want to help more coaches understand how to do, because when you're able to do that, you can make that much more of a difference in your client's life. And with this specific client that I'm talking about, she was released from physical therapy. She went to her physical therapy for 12 weeks, and this is where she was at after physical therapy. And they're just like, ease back into it. And this is why I work with the population of clients that I do, because there's such a large gap between like, okay, you are good to be able to stand up and, you know, be able to stand for a little bit without pain. But like, then what? She didn't have any idea of what to do or how to get back to regular strength training like she was used to, because she was like, what the heck? I can't even pick up my kid. I'm so weak. I can't even sit in the car for longer than 20 minutes without being in pain. And physical therapy is great, but they don't have the time or resources to be able to also strengthen somebody up the amount that they need to be able to return to their usual exercise. I'm talking about traditional physical therapy. Cash-based physical therapy is different. But this is what I'm talking about when I say things like it is the coach's job to be able to work with a client like this, because the physical therapist's job is done. Okay. So they come to a trainer to get strong. You should have the knowledge around pain, around how to peel apart somebody's layers of movement, where to start a client, how to talk them through when to stop or keep going, how to utilize breathing to manage irritation and pain when they are doing their workouts. So this is what I have to say about working with clients who have herniated discs. And I hope that this was helpful and gave you a little bit of insight into the reality of a person having a herniated disc and like what that means for the person, and to give you a little bit less fear around like if your client goes to the doctor and gets an imaging and it shows up a herniated disc or it shows up signs of aging or whatever. To some extent, it is normal, and that doesn't mean that they're meant to be in pain or that they should stop strength training. They need to continue strength training. You just need to have better knowledge around what that looks like. And if you are listening to this and you're like, I want to be able to have the knowledge around working with clients in pain and how to regress movements and how to make better programming for somebody who is dealing with a nagging injury, if that is you, I have created my new group program, Programming Through Pain, exactly for you. It is a 13-week program, and I am teaching you everything you need to know about not only assessing and testing clients who are dealing with nagging injuries, but also I'm teaching you how to connect the dots with creating a program out of the results that you find. Those are two pieces that you have to have in order to be able to get the client out of pain. So if you are interested in that program, send me a DM on Instagram, Ashley Crocker127, or you can send me an email, ashley@embracestrength.co. We are still in the early bird, which means the best price and some juicy bonuses. I specifically have an extra bonus going on right now for the next 48 hours. So the quicker you take action, the more bonuses you get. Yeah, that is what I have to say. Do not sleep on this program. I have 4 people inside of it already, and I'm stoked to serve them. And I have a few more spots available, and it's going to be good. All right. Head into 2025 with the confidence knowing that you know how to better serve clients who are dealing with injuries. Alrighty. Talk to you soon.